Hiya, I'm going to talk about the TUC and how to beat them and what they've just done. First of all, what the TUC have just done is declared self-ID is this, because they're not aware that the tide has come in. And the reason they're not aware that the tide has come in is because they're not actually that aware of what's going on around them, because they're an elite media culture with a legacy identity, and they're preserved around the Labour left and Labour movement. They're not connected to the institutions they shape anymore. And because they preserve that legacy identity, PCS, Unison, all the rest of them, they just spent 8 years preventing discussion of political consensus on the undermining of the rule of law for all these institutions, because they had no connection. And then they used Twitter to unleash abuse. We all saw. We've all been caught in the middle of it. TRA stuff is the end result of it. They spent 8 years co-opting and preventing any opposition to austerity, and what they revealed in that time is their weak spots. And their weak spots are that they are locked in to a political media culture, and the reason that they have to resort to abusive behaviour is because they're enjoying a parasitic dynamic that they've just broken by being abusive. We're the host, they're the parasite. We can undermine them very, very easily. That's our unions. But here's what you need to do. You need to actually act within your union, outside your union, wherever you are in your life, you need to act. Because the secret now is that women show that they're a political force and that they have had to bypass their trade unions to be so. They're already shaky on their foundations, and they're in the middle of a crisis of a mediating class at the end of a cycle. And realistically, I've gone through this a million times. The only way we get out of this crisis is if they represent our cash transfer system and our local authorities. That's the only way that those institutions can be redefined so that they'll evolve to adapt to another 70 years changing context. So they were due to generate crisis anyway. There is no way that they can sustain this as the Labour movement, because they're a rigid institutional structure reliant on a media landscape that's gone, trapped in a bubble on a chat room. We start doing what we did with the TRAs, we use them to demonstrate, and we demonstrate how they prevent discussion of political consensus on these systems by channeling it into the word left. They really don't like it when you do that. Do you know how I know that? Because I've just been terrorised for 8 years for doing exactly that. That's why I kept doing it. Never bare your teeth at a social worker. So that's their weak spot. Their weak spot is that they've been crippled by elite social closure, and they've got media cultures like Kelly Mayer Hagan and Owen Joe, who were already their weak spot. Ha ha! We have access to the whole media now. Self-ID is drastically opposed across the country. Everybody knows it's paedophile rights now. It's coming out in the media. So that means that we have public momentum, and we don't have to fake it, and they're trapped in a chat room with our political machinery, and we need that political machinery to start representing those institutions and recognise that rule of law, because that's what's just happened. They didn't know about the rule of law, so austerity rolled it back. But I tell you what you do have to start doing. You see, when women who are using resources that are stolen from low-paid women and service users to head up a movement, and they're telling you about Tory austerity, what they're saying is, I don't want to talk about the trade unions facilitating equality being rolled back, and I don't want to talk about the problems in my legacy identity. And you need to look straight at those women, and I'm talking about Ruth fucking Sawatka. When she is saying Tory austerity, she's not doing something nice. She's trying to prevent you from discussing those unions. And you need to look at her and say, there is no place for that in this movement, and we will not be doing that here. You already have our trade unions, you already have our political party, and we will be discussing the failure of those institutions in this movement. The TUC made a very big mistake today, and they will be brought to heel because we will be doing that, all of us. And the way we will do that is respecting difference and understanding that every one of us has a different strategy and a different thing that we're doing. And the thing that will not do that, the thing that will undermine us doing that, is if we start using left-wing purity politics to discipline women in this movement with the threat of violence. That is to be condemned the next time it happens. That's the TUC's influence. That's Corbynism. That's what we're fighting. Corbynism, the TUC, the left, the academia that have done this, it's one and the same. It's a media class. They're all one and the same. They are very vulnerable. They will not survive this crisis. You will win. But you have to keep making noise, and you have to make sure no woman is thrown under a bus, and you have to make sure that people whose identity is about those institutions do not try to prevent you doing what they're doing. And they will do that by using the phraseology, Tory led this, da 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 da. That's because they don't want to discuss why those institutions just facilitated the crisis that we're in. We have to start looking at them as a class. and understanding that that's what they are. I fully support every organisation that you can name that's been up and out. I think what Fair Play for Women have done is amazing. I think what Women's Place UK have done is amazing. What We Need to Talk have done is amazing. I think what all the individual women I know have done is amazing.